Hi, welcome to Fiberchats. My name is Irina. I'm the host here. But today it's a very special episode. I'm not really doing an interview, this sort of having a true Fiberchats. And my guest today is Anna Turk. Welcome to Fiberchats.
Thank you for having me, Arena.
So we are truly colleagues in this thing because
Yes.
you and I are going to Uzbekistan in October of 2026. And today we're going to be talking about this specific tour, what went into preparation for the tour, the itinerary of the tour, my connection with Uzbekistan, and why you should join us. So welcome to Fiber Chats.
Thanks for having me, Arena. Happy to be here.
So tell me a little bit, like, let's start with your background with Rowan Tree Travel, how you found them, how you started working with them, and then we'll go into this tour that we're planning together.
Yeah. So I started traveling with Rowan as a participant. I think it was 2018 or 2019. A friend and I were looking for some knitting related travel and stumbled across the well-known woolen whiskey that they offer and was hooked as soon as I saw the name. So did that first tour. And then later at the end of the pandemic, I did a second tour that was a wool lovers visit in New Mexico and had just kept in touch with Heather through that time. And lo and behold, in 2023, she reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in working on some projects with them. And here I am now getting ready to go to Uzbekistan with you in 2026.
So, Rowan Tree Travel, for those of you who haven't been on my channel before, if you're new here or if you missed that interview, I have an interview with Heather on my channel, and I'm going to put the link to it in the description of this video. But basically, it's a tour company that specializes in tours for creative people. Majority of them are knitters, some of them are other crafters. Basically, it's like fiber heavy tours. So not only you get to see the country, but and you will get to see the country. So if you want to go with a spouse or something, it's also a perfect place to go on a tour, like organized tour, because there's going to be enough things for everyone. It's not just for knitters, but there's going to be a knitting element to that. So
Yeah.
we are planning this tour in Uzbekistan, and why Uzbekistan? Well, I was born there. So, for those of you who don't know, and I don't often talk about myself on this channel because it's usually the presentation of my guests, but I was born in Uzbekistan. My parents were hydraulic engineers and they were building a hydraulic dam in Chervak, which is about an hour away from Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan. And then once they were done with that construction. We moved to Siberia. I was about 8 years old, but my grandparents lived in Tashkent. And so all my summers I spent in Tashkent with my grandparents because my parents were working full time and they couldn't really take care of me. And I would prefer to stay with my grandparents rather than be in summer camp or something. And all my memories of Tashkent and Uzbekistan is about, I mean, first of all, the food, the smells, the spices, the just the silks, the beautiful dresses the women were wearing. There's like so many things. And the visits to the markets where you walk through a row of vendors that just sell cherries. And by the time you're done with the row, you're like so full of cherries that you don't even want cherries anymore. And the just like the everyday feeling of welcoming and hospitality, because that's like so much in the culture. Like everybody wants to bring you to their house and feed you at their table and give you the best time that you can have there. So when I met Heather, it was actually in Barcelona. I went to Barcelona Knit last year. And we were talking, and she was asking me about myself. And I mentioned that I was born in Uzbekistan. Her eyes just lighted up. And she was like, oh my God, do you want to go to Uzbekistan? And to be honest, it's like, it's not something I was planning on doing. But like, as soon as she mentioned it, I was like, yes, let's do it. So tell me about your fascination with Uzbekistan. Where does that come from?
So back in high school and college, which were many years ago now, I studied Russian studies. So I did some language studies, some literature, some history. And at that, a lot of the studying I was doing was focused a little bit more on the Soviet Union, which obviously doesn't exist anymore. So it's an interesting culture and politics looking at that different, where there is still Russian language spoken there, but there's really much more of a national identity now that's Uzbekistan versus Russian. But regardless, I'm still just enthralled in that area in general. There's just so much, there's so much culture, there's so much fiber, whether it's always wool or maybe other textiles. I personally enjoy all kinds of textiles, not just knitting. And I just love anything that's kind of far afield. So I was the same way when Heather said, "Hey, we're thinking about Uzbekistan." My hand shot up right away and said, "Me, me, me." So just very excited to go and experience an area that I had done a little bit of studying with in college and high school.
Right. Well, and if you think about Uzbekistan, for those of you who are not familiar with the area, it's basically the southern part, like the Middle Eastern part, if you wish, of the former Soviet Union. And the beauty of the nature there is just incredible because you have the desert and you have greens of Tashkent, and it's just very varied. And like you see the mountains with the snow, but then you're going down for like 2 hours later, you are in the deserts. That was like always fascinating to me. And the best thing about it, we are going in what the Russians call the velvet season in Uzbekistan, because we are going early October, and that's when the heat is down, but it's still nice and warm and dry, and it's just like the best time to visit Uzbekistan. But let's talk a little bit about the itinerary, because I was sold the second Heather sent me the itinerary. I was like, yes, I want to go there. I want to go there. I want to see that. I want to participate in this workshop and then that workshop. So let's talk about like day by day. First of all, it's 13 nights, 14 days. So it's a longer tour, but we get to see vast majority of the country. We're going to like the most important places in that country. So the first day, we are arriving to Tashkent, and we're going to be met there by the representative from Rowan. And so, like, don't be afraid that you're going to be completely lost. We were going to be holding your hands from the moment you arrive, getting you to hotel. So it's all going to be nice and safe. The first day, basically, like, we are just having dinner in the hotel and getting to know each other. And talking about the fiber element of this tour, if you're going to look at this itinerary, and we're going to go like day by day of this itinerary, you'll notice that there is a lot of workshops, but nothing mentions knitting. And that's the surprise element of this tour. I'm creating a pattern, and it's going to be a cowl. And it's a cowl that's depicting my childhood memory, actually, of Tashkent, is all about the cotton fields. And picking cotton was something my parents, until today, they're talking about picking cottons, because all the students of high schools and colleges would be sent to the fields to pick cotton in the summer to help with that. And so those cotton flowers, like I remember driving as a child, like in the car with my parents, and just through these cotton fields. And it was everywhere. It was an element on the teacups. It's part of the designs that you see everywhere in Uzbekistan. You see it in the tiles. You see it in the tea services, teapots and teacups. You see it on the dresses, on the silk fabrics. And so for me, that image of cotton flower with the vine, that's like the ultimate Uzbekistan in my mind. So like as soon as Heather asked me, like, can you design something, I was like, yes, I'm gonna do blue and white cowl that depicts these flowers. So that's gonna be our knit along for the whole trip. So we can knit on the plane, we can knit on the bus, we can knit at free time in the hotel when you guys have free time. So that's gonna be throughout the whole trip, our fiber element of the knitting element. But let's talk about our time in Tashkent. What's on the itinerary for Tashkent?
Yeah, in Tashkent, we're gonna visit a variety of local landmarks and historical sites, but we're also gonna do some workshops that are maybe they're fiber related, but like you said, not specifically knitting. So we're gonna visit a Suzani designer and experience one of her workshops. And Suzani is a type of Uzbekistan embroidery. We're going to visit the workshop of a well-known Suzani embroiderist, and we're also going to have our own private workshop with her. We are also going to visit some of the ceramicists that are in Tashkent, and that'll be another workshop where we have the opportunity to paint our own, I believe it'll be a plate that we then get to have glazed and bring home with us. So we have our own little souvenir from that element. And then again, we're just going to be going to some of the local sites within Tashkent. We're only there for 2 days. We're going to arrive. We're going to spend about 2 days there. We'll have one free afternoon to kind of explore on our own, but then we're going to take off and head east to start seeing some other things. On day 4, we're going to head east out of Tashkent and through the Fargana Valley, go over to Margolan. And Margolan is known for fine silks. So these were traded back along the Silk Road. These were traded all the way through Baghdad, Cairo, and all the way over to Athens. And much of what we're going to be traveling is going to be somewhat following the original Silk Road. So we're going to see and experience a lot of those things along the way. We're also going to visit another artisan workshop while we're here. And this one will participate in a block printing workshop that we'll be able to take home a small piece with us. And we're also going to see the process of ikat weaving, which I did not know a lot about until I started looking on YouTube and trying to understand this better. And my mind was blown away. My concept, I'm not a weaver myself, but I'm familiar with it. I'm part of my local guild here, as I have some friends that do it. But this is a completely different kind of weaving, the way they tie and dye the different silk fibers, and then their looms are just beyond my comprehension. It was beautiful to watch, and I'm so excited to see it in person and share it with everybody else on the tour. I like to talk about planes, trains, and automobiles. So once we leave Tashkent this first day, we're actually going to be taking the train over to Margolan. And as we're exploring through there, we'll be visiting with the master craftsman, Razul. That's where we'll have our block printing class. He's been doing his work for his traditional craft for over 40 years, and his work is highly prized by collectors and enthusiasts around the world. So we're really excited to be able to step inside his workshop and learn from him.
And the block printing, they're doing it on silk, right?
It They are, yes. I'm not clear if our workshop will be on silk or if we'll have something more like a cotton for what we do.
I'm actually
They
fascinated with block printing because it looks so cool. It's like you have this, I don't know if it's rubber block, but it's some sort of block with like carvings, and it's being dipped in the color, and then you press it onto the fabric and you create these beautiful designs. And then there's like all different kinds of blocks, so you can combine them and create your own variation of the fabric. And to me, it's just like to watch the masters work. It's like the most fascinating. Like I've been watching it on YouTube, and it seems like such an amazing workshop to have. I'm super excited about that. Actually, like when I was reading the itinerary first, I was like, oh my God, yes, I wanted to do this workshop, and I wanted to decorate my own plate for the tea plate, and I wanted to do this, and I always wanted to try the block printing. So block printing was definitely one of the most exciting workshops I've seen on that itinerary. This is back to the point, like if you are there with your spouse or your friend who is not a knitter, this is like a perfect workshop to try together. Like anybody can do it, you know.
In general, this is a great tour for, we're going to have that knitting element for all of our knitting enthusiasts, but it is a great tour for non-knitters as well, whether that's a spouse, a friend, a family member that just wants to travel or specifically wants to travel to this destination, because we're going to have a lot of different workshops that'll all put us on an even footing. Likely none of us have done any block printing or ceramics painting like this. So we're all kind of learning together, which makes it a different element than when you're knitting and you have people at different levels and things like that. With like the block printing and the ceramics, and you were talking about with your knit along too, we're going to see a lot of the local traditional designs and geometric patterns. I think that's going to be really fun to see them in all the different handcrafts, right? So from your knitting design to the ceramics to the block printing and piecing those together.
Yeah, there is definitely like certain elements and certain motifs that you see throughout everything, through the architecture, to the plates, to the fabrics, to like just the dresses and hat pieces. They have in embroidery, like everywhere you can see the parallel throughout everything with like similar color choices and similar design elements. So I'm superbly excited about like I feel like my creative juices are on fire just from like reading this itinerary.
Absolutely. I love to hear that.
So let's talk about where we're going after that.
Okay, so then we are going to head over to Rishton. And in Rishton, we're going to meet with another master potter who has a workshop as well as a small one-room museum of ceramic pieces that have been collected over the years. So again, ceramics are just a very prevalent handcraft in the area, and we like to explore all handcrafts when we're traveling. So this will be another destination where we'll get to visit some of that. And that day will be a little bit more. We'll have some time on as we're driving from these different destinations to work on our knit along. So that'll be a good day for knit along time.
Right. And then we're coming back to Tashkent, right?
Yes. Yep. Yep. We're going to come back to Tashkent then. And our day, let's see, we are going to have about a day and a half in Tashkent again. And so now we're going to visit some additional places. So the Museum of Applied Arts, and this is located in the Russian Turkestan governor's old mansion, and it has 7,000 pieces of traditional folk art, including ceramic, glass and porcelain, textiles, carpets, and varnish miniatures. So this is going to be a great place to just see a lot of craft from the area. We're also going to visit the Human House Cultural Center, where they have exclusive handmade products from craftsmen of different parts of Uzbekistan. And this is an innovative space that promotes Uzbek culture and arts. It was founded in 2014 by a group of Uzbek artists and intellectuals who wanted to create a place where people could come together to experience and learn about the Uzbek culture, which is just right up our alley.
And
Uh,
I saw some podcaster touring the Human House, and it was just like incredible because first of all, you can try on some of the traditional Uzbeki clothes, and you can take some home with you as a souvenir. So I'm like super excited about that because I saw so many pieces like, and it combines some traditional Uzbeki designs, but also there's some like modern designers who are using the old traditional fabrics or techniques to create some like super modern pieces that look very cool. So I'm actually very excited about visiting that place.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really fun one. It also has, a small gift shop, bookstore, and some national dishes. And we actually have a free afternoon after that. So people are welcome to spend some more time there, do their knitting, or get out on their own and explore a little more in Tashkent. Then we are going to board a plane. So again, back
Okay,
to
hold
we've done
on.
our trains.
I'm going to ask you about that. So
Okay,
it's like
okay.
some coherency to this interview,
Yep.
actually editing it. So you mentioned trains and cars and planes. So after that, we are actually flying, right?
We are. We're going to board a flight, a domestic flight, and head out to Urgench. And from there, drive on to Khiva. And in Khiva, so Khiva is an ancient city in Uzbekistan. It has a lot of well-preserved medieval architecture there, which are also included on the UNESCO World Heritage Site. We're going to visit different mosques. We're going to visit some palaces, some minarets. One place I'm excited to visit is Operation Mercy. Here, local ladies weave designed silk rugs and embroider traditional Suzani textiles that we talked about a little bit ago, that are dyed with the silk and natural colors. And this organization, it's a relief and development organization that has been working in Uzbekistan since 1993. They support the community development and empower the women and children who are working on these different projects. And one other really exciting thing we're going to do on this day is have a master class of cooking the national dish of Manti. And maybe you can explain a little bit more what that is for us.
Well, actually, like this is the funny part. This is one of my favorite childhood memory because my cousin used to be a master at making them. So mante is like basically these dumplings filled with different filling, right? So like sometimes traditionally it would be ground lamb or ground beef, but also oftentimes they would be vegetarian. So they would make them with pumpkin or with potatoes and some lamb fat. So Uzbeki lambs are very different from anything I've seen anywhere else in the world. They have this big fat pouch that's on their butt, basically. And it's very priced. It's like very expensive to buy that specific fat because it's like that specific breed of sheep that have lambs that have it. And so a lot of times you would just buy a piece of lamb fat and dice it with like vegetables to make it juicier and to have the flavor to it without going into the which was more expensive and like sometimes harder to get. And so like my childhood memories is of us making it. And it would be something probably mostly women did, but like my uncle was also like into that. So he was always helping us. And we would they would make a dough, and it's like very thin dough, and then they would make these circles, and then you place the meat or whatever filling you're using inside. And there is this cool way of pinching the dough that creates a figure eight basically on top, and there is like a little holes in between, so the steam goes out but the juice stays in, and you steam them, so like they are steamed, and once they're done, you take a bite from the top and then you suck all the juices. So it's like the best part, like you can't like the failed result is when the juice flows out, so like you have to have the juice inside. And so like this is like something, the slurping sounds are coming from that thing, like this is the polite way to eat manti, where you like take a little bite and then you slurp all the juices. And then sometimes people use sour cream or the sour milk, the products that they have. So Uzbekistan is actually very well known for hard cheese that's called kurd, and I'm like determined to try to find it in the market and like have a taste visit with you guys, because I have like all the childhood memories of chewing on it. Um, but also they are like famous for their dairy products. So the sour cream, sour milk, like sort of yogurt consistency. Dairy products are like very famous there. So sometimes you would combine manti with that, like as a sauce. So I'm superbly excited. I can't claim any expertise because like the last time I made manti, I was still a kid. But I think it's like riding a bike. Like I'm sure it'll come back to me. So I'm extremely excited about that masterclass.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited for that. I guess that's one where maybe you'll be a little bit above us on that skill level. The rest of us will be beginners, but you'll know a little bit of what you're doing there.
I don't know about that. Like we'll see. Like I'm hoping it's gonna come back to me. I'm sort of like I know the exact process. I take it back. I don't know how to make the dough, but like I know the process of putting together manti and like steaming them. So like I know that really well in theory. The practice, like yeah, it's been a while, so we'll see about my my expertise. But like I'm super excited about it.
That does sound exciting. And I have to say, listening to you talk about all of your favorite foods is making me hungry right now. In general, we love our food on Rowan tours, but I am so excited for all of the different national dishes we're going
No,
to have while
I
we're in
think
Uzbekistan.
I think Uzbekistan like holds the torch to like all the food, and it's interesting because like I spend my time traveling with my parents throughout the whole Soviet Union, but somehow like my mom until today cooks Uzbeki food. Like we use the spices from Uzbekistan because like out of all the Soviet food, and I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me and jump channel and tell me I'm totally wrong. Like Uzbeki food holds its place in the heart of all former Soviet Union people because it's just like really special. And the fact that like it's warm, climate, so the season for growing vegetables and fruits are long, and so a lot of places in Soviet Union didn't have, like, because of the harsh winters, they only had like root vegetables and grains, whereas the food of Uzbekistan was always full of flavor and full of fresh vegetables, fresh fruits and spices. So the spices were not really used in other places in Soviet Union, but like Uzbekistan is famous for its spices because it was part of the Silk Road, and they brought spices from India and like the Middle East. So it's definitely part of the cuisine, and you can sense that. And I'm finding it like now that I live in the US and I've tried cuisines of different countries in the world, I always find it interesting how like the pilaf, which we'll still talk about it in a second, is like very similar to pilafs in Middle East or in India. So there is definitely this connection through the Silk Road of similarity in kebabs and soups with the noodles and all of those things. So I'm most excited about the food of Uzbekistan because it's like one of the best cuisines, I think.
Well, I'm excited as well. It all sounds amazing. And on another day here, we're going to have another opportunity. We'll get there, I'm sure, but we're going to have another opportunity to actually do some cooking within someone's house as well. So when you're talking about being invited into people's homes, we're actually going to experience that, which is really fun.
And over there, we actually cooking plov. So plov is otherwise known as pilaf in the Western Hemisphere. Is basically like the way they make it. They fry some onion in lamb fat usually, and then they fry and it's like this big cauldron basically, like that they do on the open fire usually, and the smell just perfumes the whole neighborhood. So they would fry the lamb, or sometimes it's beef, but like mostly lamb, chunks of that, and then they put carrots. And interestingly enough, in Uzbekistan, they, you know how usually the carrots are orange. In Uzbekistan, they have yellow carrots, and traditionally, yellow carrots were less expensive than orange carrots. And it became a thing where plov is made exclusively with the yellow carrots. And now it's like more sought after. So I don't know if it's now cheaper, it might be more expensive. But they do either a combination of orange and yellow carrots or just yellow carrots. And then they put all the spices. So there is cumin, there is thyme, there is paprika, and like all the things that perfumate the air. And then after that is almost fully cooked, they add the rice, and they have a special rice variety in Uzbekistan that like perfect for pilafs. And then it's all steamed together. And at the end, you get just this tremendous, beautiful dish that has all the rice and the vegetables and the meat. And depending on where you are, they add different things. So some places they would add dry apricots and raisins, and some places will get the chickpeas. So everybody in Uzbekistan has their own version of pilaf, and they all assure you that this is the best version. So I'm actually excited to like go from place to place and try it for ourselves and decide which version we like the most.
Sounds wonderful. Sounds delicious.
And this we're gonna do in somebody's house, right? And then
Correct. So we are actually, yeah, we're going to be invited into someone's home that evening. Our whole dinner that evening will be in a private home where we'll get to participate in making some of that with them and then dining together. So again, it just goes back to what you're saying of people being very inviting, welcoming you into their home. We're going to experience that firsthand.
And when you think about the table in Uzbekistan, it's never just like the main dish. There is always like salads. And so they have probably like one of the most flavorful tomatoes on the planet. So they usually make this tomato and onion salad. And then there is the bread. I mean, so if you're going to Uzbekistan and you're not trying their bread, like it's committing crime. Um, they making bread. It's like a flat bread. It's not like pita. It's thicker, so it's crunchy on the outside and like super chewy inside. And they make it in tandoori ovens, which is like underground ovens. And they just like schlep it onto the wall of the oven, and then they have this special hook that they release it, and it's just like the most divine thing ever. And it's interesting enough that like every village and every place have their own stamp on this bread. So it's decorated with some beautiful designs on the in the middle, and then they use sesame seeds throughout, like on top of the bread. So just like that bread alone, like I could live on that bread without anything else. Like if I had to choose the last meal, it would be that bread. So I'm just excited because it's like usually when you see the table set up for the guests in Uzbekistan, it's gonna be there's not gonna be an empty spot on that table. There's gonna be like every inch of this place is gonna be taken with some sort of food. So I'm like beyond excited about that.
It sounds like we're going to eat really well on this tour, especially with your guidance of helping us know all the favorite things.
And of course, they have this saying in Uzbekistan that if you don't drink tea, where do you get your strength from? So tea is like an ultimate part of any sort of meal. So you would have rice with tea and meat with tea. The tea would be like at every single meal. And they have a theory, and I don't know if it's scientific or proven, but like I'm told by my grandmother, so it must be true, that if you drink hot tea, it dissolves the fat of the meat or the pilaf, like the rice, like whatever you eat. And so it basically cancels the calories. So
Oh,
we're gonna gain a pound of weight during that trip because we're gonna be drinking tea.
sounds like the perfect diet. I love it. So we're going to spend about 2 days in Khiva. And so in addition to visiting the Operation Mercy, again, we're going to visit some additional palaces. There's lots of mosques and palaces dating all the way back to the 10th, 19th centuries. So this is going to have a lot of local architecture and venues that we can visit. We're also going to have a free afternoon there again. So whether people want to use that to explore some of Khiva on their own, spend more time knitting, or we totally understand that sometimes you just need a little quiet time in your room. So we'll have that built in for people to do. And then from Khiva, we're going to head to Bukhara. We'll drive over this way, and this is going to be a bit of a long day of driving, but we're going to have stops along the way. And I never mind driving because it's more great time for knitting, in my opinion, or sightseeing. So we're going to be driving across the famous Kuzilkum Red Sands Desert. And this does take about 6 to 7 hours. Like I said, it is a little bit longer, but we're going to have stops along the way. The way we're going, we're basically, it's a modern road, but we're basically following the Silk Road from yore, if you will. So we're going to see lots of stops, or have lots of stops to see the desert flora and fauna that we're going through. We're going to stop at the banks of the Amudarya River. Did I say that right? Amudria. We're going to stop at the banks of the Amudria River. Oh yeah, some other fun things I think about this desert is it's the 15th largest desert in the world. It's known for its red sands, the salt lakes and the oases. It's home to over 200 species of birds, so I'm sure we'll see some of that during our drive through. And then there's all sorts of other wildlife like foxes, wolves, gazelles. So whether you're knitting or keeping an eye out the window, there'll be something to see while we're driving through there. And then we'll arrive in Bukhara that night. So it'll be a big day of driving, but a lot of sightseeing along the way. And then once we get to Bukhara, we're actually going to spend 2 days in Bukhara. And again, while there, we're going to see a lot of mosques, minarets. We're going to have a workshop with jewelers and embroiderers where they specifically are using gold and silver threads. So they're using this, and it's often on a colored velvet background. We don't get to do a workshop in this one, unfortunately, but we do get to visit and watch them working through that craft.
They also use that a lot, actually, the gold and silver thread for the scalp caps that the men wear there traditionally. So, and it's often that cotton design, the cotton flower with the vines, or grapes design. So like, and the grapes in Uzbekistan, it's something you've never seen before because it's like the size, it's bigger than my head. It's the sweetest grapes, and they have like a huge variety of them. So I'm sure we'll get to try some of them as well there.
Oh, I hope so. We're also going to have another masterclass in the Suzani embroidery with a different artisan while we're in Bukhara. This one will have a piece of calico with traditional Suzani ornaments and silk threads that we'll have the opportunity to create our own piece with.
I'm super
On that one.
excited about embroidery there. It sounds like really unique something.
It looks beautiful. I'm a little nervous. Mine might not look as good as the ones I can buy in the market, but I'm still really excited to try my hand at it and then maybe buy my own piece I can take home and wear home. While we're in Bukhara, we're also gonna, again, not have workshops that we can participate in, but we're gonna see some more block printing, metal chasing, and also carving and miniature painting. So again, experiencing a lot of different handcrafts from the region.
One of the reasons I'm really excited about going to places like Khiva and the Samarkand and Bukhara is because they have preserved the traditional, like the original architecture. There are minarets and there are mosques and all this stuff. And in Tashkent, it's hard to find it because in 1966, there was a major earthquake. And actually, that's when my parents got married because they knew each other. They were like high school sweethearts, but like that earthquake somehow brought them together, like, and sealed that marriage. So I'm a product of the 1966 earthquake. Well, I'm not. I'll take it back. Their marriage was a product of 1966 earthquake. I came out later. But the thing is, because of the earthquake, a lot of old architectural sites in Tashkent were destroyed, and the city is more modern, even though there are some elements, obviously, from the old city, but like a lot of things got destroyed in the earthquake. So I'm super excited about going to Bukhara and Samarkand because in those places it's preserved and it's absolutely beautiful. The tiles on those minarets, I'm incredible. Like I'm looking forward to just taking pictures of the tiles from the outside, and the buildings are just amazing. So it's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, the colors from what I'm learning as I move through this, the colors on all of the different palaces and tiles and minarets just are gorgeous on their own, let alone then the intricacy of the tiles themselves and the painting. So I'm with you. This is going to be just a beautiful, beautiful experience.
So where are we going after the Bukhara?
So after Bukhara, we're going to head over to Samarkand, and that'll be another travel day. We'll do some stops along the way, visit another ceramic artist and workshop, and then just have some free time to ourselves to settle into our hotel, do some more of that knit along, and just gather together and talk about everything we've seen. But we're going to have one full day in Samarkand, and there we're going to visit the square. We're going to go to the mosque and a mausoleum. We're going to visit one of the holiest sites there, the Imperial Necropolis, which is filled with mausoleums. And we're also going to visit the Ulubek Observatory. So this was built back in the 15th century. And while much of it is in ruins right now, it's still a really significant symbol of the scientific achievements during the Islamic Golden Age. So I know I'm personally very excited to visit that one. And then that is the evening that we get to do an outdoor dinner at a local home where we'll be making the plof you were talking about. So really excited for that.
That sounds like a perfect way to finish a good day.
Doesn't it? And then from there, we'll head back to Tashkent, where we're going to finish things up. Along the way, we're going to stop at one more visit. We've got a paper factory that's known for producing the traditional handmade paper. That'll be located in Samarkand. And it dates back to the 8th century when paper was first introduced to the region. So that'll be a really fun one. And then when we get back to Tashkent, we'll have a nice free afternoon for people to pack or maybe do some additional shopping. I know that'll probably be me. Get out and visit some of the local markets, and we'll have a final dinner together before we fly out the next day.
That sounds so exciting. Like I can't wait to do all of that. And I hope you guys gonna join us. So we're gonna put the code for the tour in the description of this video so you can find it. And this tour is open to my viewers and my followers first until August 1st. And then on August 1st, Rowan will release this tour to the general public. So if you are watching this interview and you always wanted to travel and see some historical sites and you are a fan of Fiberchats, or you just want to visit Uzbekistan and try all that great food, just go to the description of this video, click on that link and register for the tour with us. The tour is October 3rd through 17th in 2026. And I know it sounds like far away time, but some people need to plan their vacation time and some people need to shuffle things around in the calendar. And I hope you are one of those people who can shuffle things around and join us. I'm looking forward to this adventure. I'm sure it's going to be full of fun, full of great memories that we're going to be making all together, and amazing food for sure. Like I guarantee you that. And I'm so excited that I'm going to do it with you.
I feel the same, Marina. I'm really looking forward to traveling with you and learning more about your time in Uzbekistan as well. You're going to bring a very unique perspective that we aren't always able to offer on our tours, having a local person like that. So really excited.
And just to make you feel safe, like if you're watching this video and you're like, oh my God, like, but what do these two women know about Uzbekistan? We are having a local tour guide with us at all times, so they're gonna take care of all the logistics basically. So we're gonna be in good hands there as well, and you're gonna be totally safe and experience this tour with us.
Yes.
Well, thank you so very much for being my guest today. It was really lovely, and I'm so looking forward to spending time together in Uzbekistan next year.
Thank you for having me, Irina. I'm looking forward to it too.